Today we're talking about how it may be hurting your kids to keep the family finances a private matter. Let's get started. Please don't forget to subscribe for more videos on raising intentional children and living intentional lives. We publish a new video every Friday. I grew up in the we don't talk about money generation. Actually, it seems like it's been every generation. My parents didn't talk about money, but their parents really didn't talk about money. Somewhere along the line, it became normal to not talk about money around your kids, to not talk about your family's finances, to not talk about your income, any of that stuff with your kids. As an optimist, I'm going to assume that it came from great intentions, but it wasn't carried out very well. Because I understand that we shouldn't have adult talk around our kids. And I'm talking about adult talk like stressful events and financial burdens, and if you're worried that you're not going to be able to pay the rent. Obviously, these things are not stuff we should talk about around our kids because we don't want them to stress out about the things that are really our problems to solve. So if you're in mountains of debt and you're stressed out about it all, then no, you shouldn't tell your kids how stressed you are and explain all of the problems and explain how you don't know if you're going to be able to make all these payments. That stuff should not be talked about with your kids, but that's not what we're talking about here. They didn't get you into the debt and they have no responsibility of helping you get out of the debt. Even if you think the debt may be their fault. I get that too. But the point is, making the family finances a completely private matter where you don't share any of this stuff with your kids can be devastating for your kids' financial futures. Our kids need to understand how money works and how personal finances work, and their best teacher is you. And kids want to learn. However, while nearly 73% of parents say they have talked to their teenagers about money management, 53% of teens said they want to learn more. And we think we're helping our kids by keeping all this stuff private from them, but look at how many kids end up in the exact same financial place as their parents because their parents never explained any of this stuff to them. So could we avoid this by letting our kids learn from our mistakes? Probably, yes. I think so. That's what this video is about. Kids are eager to learn, especially when it comes to finances and money. If we've messed up, we need to show our kids our mistakes and help them to learn from our mistakes. No, we shouldn't burden them with all the stress and worry if we don't think we're going to be able to make payments, but we should show them, okay, I got into all this debt. This is how you can avoid that. And if we're doing well with our money, we definitely should show our kids our success and explain how we got there and how we're different from most people because most people are not doing well with their money. But this idea that money is a taboo topic is causing generations of financial heartache. In the military, I've had plenty of 18 to 20-year-old troops that are on their own for the first time in their life. Many have never even been grocery shopping on their own before they join the military. How can they be expected to set a grocery budget or a budget in general if they don't even know how to shop for groceries? And this is all true. Like, I've taken kids to the grocery store, young troops, whenever they first arrived to their first duty station. We went to the grocery store and I've heard from multiple kids, my mom usually does this. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't even know what to buy. And then a few months later, these same kids are having financial difficulties and struggles because they just have no idea what they're doing. But if we're willing to teach, our kids are willing to learn. And if you don't think you're capable of teaching finances to your kids, you are, and I'll put some links below, but there are plenty of articles that I've written and other people have written, plenty of things to help you to teach your kids about money. So why don't we talk about money? In the United States, it can be offensive to ask someone their salary or how much they pay in rent every month or how much their home costs or how much they paid for their vehicle. All this stuff is offensive for a lot of people. But I've noticed a lot of other countries that I visited don't have this social restriction. When I had first arrived to my duty station in Italy several years ago, I had plenty of people ask me, how much do you make being in the military? My neighbors, one of the first conversations we had, they came over and said, how much do you pay for rent? That's how we figured out that we as Americans were paying 3 times what the Italians were paying because the Italian landlords knew that we had the money. They actually knew exactly how much money we got paid for housing allowance, and that seemed to be the exact price of the rent for homes for Americans. So that's funny. But it didn't bother me that he asked me those questions about my rent and then about the salary and everything. I have no problem answering that. If we have a biblical worldview, we know it's all God's money anyways. So why are we so afraid to talk about how much we have or what we're doing with our money? I've actually asked around, and it seems like there's 3 main reasons why we don't talk about money, whether it's to strangers or whether it's to our kids. Number 1, we were raised to not talk about our money. Simple. Number 2, we can be insecure about how much we make or how we spend our money. Or number 3, sometimes we just don't want other people to know how much wealth we have because we're afraid of what might happen with them having this new information. The first reason that we were raised to not talk about money is just a generational misconception that money is ours and not God's in the first place. If we could humble ourselves and take the pride out of it, we could all learn a lot more from each other. And of course, that would eliminate number 2 about our insecurities. And the third reason that we're afraid people will know how much wealth we've accumulated often stems from greed. It's not all about greed, but if you feel like that, just ask yourself if it is coming from a place of greed. And I'm not suggesting that you post your salary for everyone to see, though I also don't think that would be a bad thing. In the military, we have our salaries completely available for everyone to see online. If you know their rank and how long they've been in, you know exactly how much money they make. But funny enough, I've had a lot of military members that don't like to talk about how much they make, or they won't even tell you their salary if you ask them, even though it's available in a few clicks right there on Google. That just goes to show how deeply ingrained this idea of privatizing our finances has become. What if every career had public pay charts for everyone to see with names and salaries listed? I know more than a few people that would have a problem with that. But why? At a bare minimum, we need to open up our finances to our kids though. So where can we involve our kids in our finances? If you've hidden your finances from your kids in the past, start by simply showing them the family budget. Your expenses, how much you spend, how much you earn, and how it correlates. Before anything else, they need to know how to manage their money, and that starts with a budget. Otherwise, they're gonna go from managing a few $100 a month as a teen to a few $1,000 a month once they move out, and they're gonna have no clue what they're doing with any of it. Talk about a culture shock. For younger kids, whenever they ask for something in the store, don't just tell them it's not in the budget, show them the budget and explain why they can or can't have that thing. Let them see the monthly grocery and entertainment budget. Show them how much they actually cost you. Not only is that going to show them why they can't have that thing or why they can have that thing, but it'll kind of show them an idea of what a budget looks like and get them prepared for whenever they get to their budget, even if they're several years away from that. Show them all the costs in your home. Whenever they're on the computer, show them how much the internet costs. If you're watching TV, if you have TV, show them how much the cable costs. Show them how much the electricity costs for doing either one or just simply being in the home. And speaking of being in the home, show them how much you pay in rent or in your mortgage. Show them how much it costs just to live in the house that you live in. We have to start early so that they can learn this stuff before they have thousands of dollars to do whatever they will with. Being open with your children about the finances helps them to understand everything better. When our kids ask for something, we turn the question around to them. This is how a typical conversation goes in our household. Kids, can I have this thing that I can't live without that I also didn't know existed until 5 minutes ago? They don't usually say that last part, but us. That's not in the budget, so we can't buy it today. Maybe you can save for it, or put it on your birthday or Christmas list. Kids, why is it not in the budget? Us. That's a great question that they know the answer to. Why isn't it in the budget? Kids. Because we're saving to pay cash for our house and we spend money on things that truly matter to us, like traveling the world and the things that we love. This is when it kind of starts to click. Us. That's exactly right. And do you guys like to travel? It's one of their favorite things. Kids. Yes, with a slightly disappointed but understanding tone. Us. Well, that's why we can't spend our money on impulse buys and things that don't provide value to our lives. Plus, we want to be intentional with what we bring into our home, and impulse buys are pretty much the opposite of intentional. That's literally the most frequent conversation about money in our home. They get it, and they love to take vacations and extended weekend trips all over the world. It was all over Europe, now we're all over Japan. And they love to do those things, and they understand the costs of those things. They knew we wouldn't be in Europe forever, and now they know that we're not going to be in Japan for forever. So we have to prioritize, since we have this time here, so that we can do all these trips and we can travel. We can use teachable moments. Our kids know that they can ask us any money questions and personal finance questions, and that we'll answer all of them, even the most personal ones. So we don't get offended whenever they ask us how much we pay for something or what we pay for our home or for our car. We use that as a teachable moment. And teachable moments is what it's all about, because whenever you're in that moment, they're interested in that thing. So they're going to listen to what you're saying. Every time your kids ask a question about money in any way, you can either bring them in and explain things and help them learn, or you can shut them out and tell them it's a private matter. Which one do you think is going to help? And just a quick disclaimer, we discourage our kids from talking about the family finances with other kids, but that's mostly because, one, we don't want them bragging about how much money their parents spent on something, like my parents just spent insert amount that seems enormous to a child, on their car. And 2, we discourage sharing other people's business in general. The main takeaway here is to use your finances and to use these teachable moments as teaching tools for your kids. It's first-hand information, it's real, they're interested, and they'll usually listen. Please don't forget to subscribe for more videos on money, minimalism, our travel journey around the world. If you're interested in raising intentional children, and I'm sure you are because you're watching this video, check out my new book, Intentional Children. It goes over these topics and plenty more, but it starts with talking about why we don't teach our kids about money and why we don't talk about money. That's all for today. I will see you next week.